Respected Chair, ladies and gentlemen, allow me thank you, the organizer, the International Buffalo Workshop, Bangladesh. This morning, I would like to share with you 5 key messages. Number 1, not only buffalo, livestock statistics as a whole in Bangladesh are inconsistent. And it varies among different sources, which need urgent attention and action to support good policy, because the good policy can only be done based on good data. My second message today is due to low productivity, the greenhouse gas emission from buffalo is higher than from cattle in Bangladesh. Although buffaloes are known for higher climate adaptability. The third message is that small and scattered population, high mortality, poor technology uptake, and weak value chain are major impediment to productivity of the buffalo. The fourth, due to fewer and scattered breedable female, it is practically difficult or scaling up is impossible to apply artificial insemination with frozen semen. Therefore, we should go for a community-based breeding with the certified sires for a natural mating. Last but not the least, provided policy, technology, and financial supports are put in place, there are a couple of niches which can be developed for buffalo production, for example, in the coastal region and in Chattogram. Now, in favor of my first message, the livestock statistics in Bangladesh need urgent attention and action. As you can see, that here I'm presenting data from 3 sources. The blue bars are from FAO, the orange bar are from the Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics, and the gray bars are from the Department of Livestock Service. As you can see, in every species, they differ greatly. And for example, BBS says Bangladesh only has even less than 400,000 buffalo. On the other hand, FAO and DLS are saying that Bangladesh has 1.4 million buffalo. And equally, it is important if we can break down the number of buffaloes according to different let's say division of Bangladesh. Only BBS provides that data, which is good. But on the other hand, let's say in the Borishal division, BBS is saying that it has, the whole division has less than 80 million buffalo. On the other hand, the DLS saying that only Vola district has 124,000 buffalo. So there is clearly a discrepancy and inconsistency in data which needs to be urgently taken care. Now, let's bring the other key message, which is the greenhouse gas emission from buffalo is slightly better than cattle, but worse than other species. And this is the global situation. And in this slide, what I did, I converted all livestock species into the tropical livestock units. This is a tools developed by FAO, which help us harmonize the different species against the mature cattle. And having done that, globally, for example, there are 47% TLU for cattle. And against that, the cattle is producing 62% of the greenhouse gas. Similarly, if you can see for buffalo, there are 7% of TLU are for buffalo, and the buffalo altogether globally producing 8% of the greenhouse gas. What is important here to note that all other species here, there are three very important species, which are pig, chicken, and the small ruminant. They have a much lower percentage of greenhouse gas emission. Now let's look a little bit closer to Bangladesh. In Bangladesh situation, as you can see, the highest intensity of greenhouse gas emission per kilogram of animal protein is coming from buffalo. The second one is from cattle, and again the lowest is from chicken and the small ruminants, the sheep and goat. Well, in this high intensity of buffalo greenhouse gas emission per kilogram of protein could be due to, among other reasons, very low productivity of buffalo. Let's see how is the situation in the Indian system. In India, the story looks different. Here it says that the buffalo, the greenhouse gas emission intensity from buffalo, which is a kilogram of carbon dioxide equivalent per kilogram of animal protein, is much lower than that of cattle. But again, as you can see, it is both buffalo and cattle has more greenhouse gas intensity compared to chicken and pigs in Indian condition. So again, let's go a little bit just what is happening here. These data are also quite old. So one of the key messages here that buffalo is not adding a substantial benefit, maybe compared to cattle, but not compared to the other livestock. But the second key message is that the high intensity may be, especially in Bangladesh, due to low productivity of buffalo. Now, looking into a detail into the sources, where are the emissions? As you can see, the major source, nearly 65%, is coming from the enteric fermentation, and that to some extent depends on the quality of feed, the feed balancing, the diet formulation, etc. And the second big amount is coming from the manure. Why I said in the second big amount? Because for other feeds, if we use the crop residue as a feed, the greenhouse gas is already counted while the crop production. So it should not add again the greenhouse gas emission for the crop residue because it has been already counted in the primary crop. Now, there are areas of improvement. Number one, as I said already, we should go for a mixed crop livestock production because the feed, the greenhouse gas emission for feed is already in the crop production and it will not be counted in the livestock. The second things we can do is do the feeds and fodder treatment to improve the digestibility and also to reduce the greenhouse gas emission. We can go for mixed meat milk operations because in this, say for if the animals are for dairy, the greenhouse gas is already counted for the milk production and it will not be again counted in meat production. So at the end of the day, we can reduce the intensity per kilograms of animal protein. Feed balancing, I already said, the feed balancing and good diet formulation help reducing the greenhouse gas emission. And the last one here but it's very important, and it's one of the practices that can be easily improved in farm is the manure management. And there are some research topics which can be addressed for a longer term and more sustainable solutions. And these are the let's say fodder selection for those fodder who produces less methane and carbon dioxide. And equally, we can do for genetic selection of animals, and there are animals within the same species or even in the same breed who produce less greenhouse than the other. So those animals can be selected for breeding and get for more sustainable longer term solution. There are some policy issues which can help reducing the greenhouse. And one of the key important policy can be the incentives for low greenhouse gas emission and the good practices. For example, if this farmer wants to get finance from loan, if they produce lesser amount of greenhouse gas, they can get the loan on priority, and equally any other of the government incentive they may receive. Now, here are some examples that during my work in the joint FAO-IEA division of International Atomic Energy Agency, I did some work together with other colleagues, and that has a substantial improvement on enhancing productivity and reducing the greenhouse gas emission. One of them is not only depending on the conventional feed, but also going for unconventional animal feed. This is a very important issue. And then is the efficient utilization of the crop residues in the mixed crop livestock production system. We need to support laboratory capacity to enhance the feed analysis capacity so that the feed quality can be ensured. And there are feed database to be developed, and especially the feeding calendar, because no matter whether droughts or rains or wet season or dry season, we need to feed animals 365 days. So there should be a calendar, and the calendar should guide the farmer to fill in the gaps where the gaps are, so that they can be prepared for the crisis period to ensure the feed supply. And then the last but not the least one is the feed supplementation and the treatment to enhance the productivity. There are protocols for enzyme treatment. There are protocols for molasses and urea treatment here, as you can see. I want to specifically draw your attention on this photo. This is from El Salvador, which is from a farm with 1,000 cattle. And this farm produce renewable energy in the form of biogas and then electricity, and they were even selling the electricity to the national grid. So this is very important that we can use, better manage the manure and contribute to renewable energy. My third message is that the productivity of buffalo is low in Bangladesh, and here are few data that will help us to really understand the scale. Let's say, for example, the buffalo meat production in Bangladesh per year is less than 7,000 metric ton against an 8.7 million metric ton of total meat, combining cattle, small ruminant, and chicken mostly. So as you can see, the share of the buffalo in the total meat value chain in Bangladesh is really very small. Similarly, when it comes to the milk production, as you can see, it's nearly 36,000 metric ton milk is produced from buffalo against 13 million metric ton total milk. So the as a total product from buffalo milk and meat is really small to develop a larger value chain at scale. And then it's also the buffalo productivity per buffalo milk. It ranges between 350 to 70 the kg, depending on different studies that you can see here I refer to. On the other hand, if we compare the Bangladesh data against the Indian data, they are producing between 1600 to 2850 kg of milk per 300 days lactation. So compared to our neighbor country, our productivity is very low, even it's less than half. Other issues are the buffalo mature quite late. It can go as high as 50 months. The calving interval is generally 2 years as of today. And this is because, again, there is no genetic selection and not any breeding program which can be taken to at scale. Now, there are I will go through next few slides to explain or to present to you the buffalo production system in Bangladesh. Let's say one of the common system is the small production, and it's the mixed farming. We have it in Mymensingh and many of the northern districts, including the milk pocket area like Bagabari Ghat. I have seen one or two buffalo together with many cows. Farmers keep this one or two buffalo to harmonize the fat percentage so they can get good price. So in this, the animals are kept mostly in the home backyard. These animals are taken to public water bodies for wallowing, and they can also drink the water. The feeding is based on the crop residues. Some of them cultivate some tropical forage like in a PR, or they graze in the community lands. And their concentrate mixture is mostly the milling byproduct, and usually it is given to the milking cow, not to everyone. Now we have a semi-intensive system, and it has been developed by some of the private farm and also a farm by Milkbeta, where the buffaloes are tied up in a half-walled shed with good ventilation. As you can see, this is very good to cool the environment. And the buffalo cooling is done by hoosh shower usually. And this is they use the same feeds and feeding practice. It's better plan, but the ingredients of the diet remain the same as it is for the smallholder. This farm can be used to introduce a recording system and to identify the bull mother, to produce the bulls for community-based breeding, as I have mentioned. These farms are also good to apply technology and to scale up some of the technology. The scaling up will be easier. Now, the third production system is the extensive coastal buffalo production system. I'm happy to share with you that there is a very well described book written in the name of Mohish Kathon. It's an excellent publication by PKSF and their partner, and I kindly refer you to consult it, because it has given a very good description of the buffalo production system. What I extracted few information from this book, that as many as 40% of total Bangladeshi buffaloes are in this traditional coastal production system. They have challenges. Their feed quality is varied. They got saline water. They have very limited access to veterinary and the extension service. The result is very high morbidity and mortality of the buffalo. And also the final result is that the low productivity. There are projects from the Department of Livestock Service, from Milkbeta, PSF, and several NGOs. They are supporting the area. The provisions were made especially to ensure the freshwater reservoir, freshwater supply, and also some shelter from the cyclone, for example. And these are popularly called the kella. Here is one of the example. Another important, there has been a participatory gap analysis, and they identified as many as 26 challenges to address to improve the buffalo production in this extensive coastal buffalo production system. And I would like to recommend here going through these challenges really to identify some of them and work on them, who will have a good return on investment. Now, before I move to the breeding and reproduction, here are some of the buffalo breeds which are available in Bangladesh and in the rest of the world. As we know, Bangladesh doesn't have any specific breed. They got some buffaloes from India, crosses, looking very much like a Mora. Bangladesh even got the swamp buffalo, especially in the coastal region. So, as you can see from the photographs, the Mora, Niliravi, Surti, Kundi, and Mehsana, these are Indian and Pakistani buffalo. But on the other hand, there are Mediterranean buffalo, and also Mediterranean buffalo are taken to Brazil. These are very robust animals and very heavy animal, produce a lot of meat together with the meal. And the last one is the swamp buffalo, the photograph I took from Myanmar. Now, what I am proposing here for the breeding is that the community-based breeding with certified sire or natural mating is more preferred based on the information and the scale than the artificial insemination using the frozen semen, especially with the buffalo at the current situation. Why? As you can see, there is no air taking. It's generally lacking. The data system is poor, and in many cases the data is written on the hard copies. Here I would like to mention that the BBS published their data in a book, and the PDF is not even editable. Nowadays, nobody publishes data in book. The people publish data in the spreadsheet so that we can easily download them, even filter them, produce a different output file. There are few initiatives but which fail because of the unrealistic and complex data capturing system. When we go for a data collection, we are too demanding, and the farmers and herders cannot meet them. So we have to keep an eye on that. And also, it's often top down. This says the higher officials is the official decision to collect data, and we know that there are examples that the data is already filled in even without going to the field. So that reduces the quality of data. Here are some recommendations. Number one, we do not need to record all farms and all animals. Select some farm and target some animal, a population that will support a good genetic selection and decision making. And we can align the recording with the routine practices, like when we are doing the deworming or with doing the vaccination. We also collect data, let's say in the age at first calving or any other data on the animals, let's say for body weight or milk, whatever we collect. For a good genetic decision and genetic analysis, we need minimum a monthly record of milk. And also use innovation. We can use the digitalization, GIS, and even drone, especially to get data from areas which are not accessible. We need a program of work, otherwise the data will never be gathered. We will always complain that we don't have quality data unless we collect it. So we need a national policy for animal identification, and then let's say obligatory data to be able to sell animal for breeding. Of course, it does not exclude the need of data for the traceability and for animal health. And strengthen the extension service using farm data, not data from book, because this is what farmer believes. And introduce a feedback system. The farmer has to see that the data they have given has created a value for them. So they can use the data, they can use the information, which is very important. And then there are technology, as I said, to scale up the record and also look into the return of investment. We should not just collect data for data. Data is an investment, and what it brings in terms of policy, in terms of productivity enhancement for the farmer. Now we have technologies to tackle this, and these are some of the examples I'm saying here. We need to empower the community and co-create the breeding policy with them, not us sitting in a hotel or in a building in Dhaka and giving the policy to farmer. It doesn't work in that way. We need to have a smart information and communication technology, use them, and because they are fast, they are cheaper, and we can use the assisted reproductive technology. I will present a few examples. And we need to use the advantage of the rapidly advancing molecular genetics. If we, through the community breeding program, if we find very good animals with very good phenotype, it would be good to genotype that and record it. What is the genetics, genomics of this animal that makes it phenotypically good? Now, few points about reproduction, because if I don't talk about the reproduction, my colleagues will say that I have forgotten the reproduction since I left the Bangladesh. The buffaloes are poor reproducer, and they have this late sexual maturity, as I told you already. They have long postpartum estrus, poor expression of estrus, because buffalo has a tendency to show very weak estrus, which we often call the silent estrus. The estrus behavior they often show during the night time, because the night time is cooler. They have poor conception rate, especially with the artificial insemination. And buffalo has a seasonality in calving, which needs to be investigated, whether it is because of the feed availability. But I also came across the data that buffalo are short day breeder. So that also needs to be taken into consideration. The buffalo has a long calving interval. And what is the possible causes for that? Number one cause is the scarcity of feed. I will repeat, for any livestock operation is the feed, production, technology, conservation, and as well as good, please excuse me, and good extension service, so that farmer and the producer take the technology. High ambient temperature prevent animals showing the estrus behavior, and high humidity works as well. I already said that the buffalo is a short day breeder, and more importantly, there has never been in Bangladesh a selection for high fertility of buffalo, except from the farmer's knowledge. Now, in support of the what I said about the nutrition, let me present here the body condition score and milk progesterone data from two buffaloes. The buffalo on the top, as you can see, when they gave birth, the body condition score was less than 2.5, and then it continually reducing. And at day 150 postpartum, the body condition score came to 1.5. And this buffalo did not cycle. As you can see, the one was the cut point, 1 nanogram progesterone per milliliter in the milk. We considered it as a non-cyclic, and anything more than 1, we considered it an animal with the luteal function. Now, when we come to the second buffalo, as you can see, this one for the body condition, it was the same body condition when they gave birth, But then, because of good feeding, the farmer managed the body condition score up to 2. This buffalo had the first ovulation at about day 70, which is not good, which is not bad. I mean, if we can have the buffalo bred on the day 70, we can still have a calving interval slightly more than 1 year. What is important here to note, because when we collected this milk and the body condition data, we didn't say anything to the farmer about the estrus, although we noticed. But the buffalo, the farmer did not notice that his or her animal ovulated 3 times, and which is demonstrated by the progesterone concentration, the high level of progesterone up to 2 nanogram and even 2.5 nanogram are indication that the buffalo cow had ovulation and had luteal function. So 2 messages here. Number 1, the poor body condition prevents buffalo to cycle. Number 2, the farmer meets a lot of estrus because of, as I said, many reasons. This paper has been published in Actabet, Scandinavia. Now, here I am just summarize some of the ovulation and estrus synchronization together with the artificial insemination. I will go quickly because you know all of it already. So the first one, of course, if we have a good veterinarian to examine the corpus luteum, we can do a prostaglandin injection. The animal will show heat between 50 and 120 days, and we can breed them 12 hours after the onset of estrus. Straightforward, but we need a good veterinarian to do the rectal palpation and identify buffalo with corpus luteum. The second one is, if we have a good nutrition, cyclic herd, we may take the risk, but make sure that there is no pregnant animal. We use the prostaglandin and we go for a fixed term insemination. Then there are a lot of combination of different hormones. We can begin with the gonadotrophic hormone together with the prostaglandin, and again it helps. It also need the cyclic herd, and then we can do a fixed term insemination. There are other, you see, there may be as many as 3 hormones using progesterone, prostaglandin, and even equine gonadotropic hormone to ensure the ovulation. But we also have to consider the cost. I think such an operation in Bangladesh condition will be, to my knowledge, about 2,500 to 3,000 taka, which may not be affordable by many farmers. And then the same, even more complicated one. But before I make any conclusion, I don't want to make any conclusion which one is good or which one is bad. All I'm saying, what is practicable, what is applicable, and what can be practiced would be my recommendation based on this situation. Now, here you see I have summarized from the conception rate data from this synchronized or induced estrus from several studies. I will not go to the everyone, but these 2 studies, the first one with the Gutierrez and the second one was Neglia, they used a lot of animals, over 2,000 animals, and they managed to get between 40 to 57% conception rate, which is good and promising. But again, they had good nutrition, and I would like to mention, if I have not done it already, the poor nutrition condition cannot be supplemented by hormone. So I will never make such an initiative to be failed. So whatever hormone intervention we do, we have to do in a cyclic animal, and the cyclicity of animals depend on good nutrition and very good feeding. This one I will just pass by. As I said, in these few studies, the number of animals were too few, but with variable conception rate. Now, This is where my other message that I would like to share with you, that there are a few niche market for buffalo, but it needs a lot of work. It needs good policy, it needs the technology support, and it needs a value chain development. And but before doing that, there are conditions that we need to understand. For example, total buffalo milk and milk production are too small, and they are scattered all over the country, except some coastal region. I have said it already. There is no buffalo scalable value chain. It doesn't exist yet. The fresh milk cart value chain that is common, it's very traditional in Bola, is of unknown hygienic quality, and we do not know the health risks because of unpasteurized milk. So what I'm saying here, that except in Chattogram, people generally prefer cattle meat. And I know in Dhaka and many other metropolitan city, the butcher sells buffalo meat, but as a cattle meat. But Chattogram people prefer buffalo meat, which can help develop a value chain. And another important point that prevents the buffalo dairy production is the dairy companies do not have a proper and transparent pricing system for the buffalo milk. So if the farmer, as you know, the 1 kilogram of buffalo milk is nearly 1.7 kilogram of cow milk. So with this amount of milk, if the farmer gets the same price for the cow milk, then the farmers will not be encouraged to produce buffalo milk. There are some way forward. So I would recommend to target, say, two niches. One is the Greater Borishal for milk and dairy products, and the Chattogram for the meat value chain. Then I will build on the lesson learned from the different projects. Instead of going and reinventing the wheel, let's build on what we know and go forward. And I would also recommend to formulate a package of services and awareness program, including financial support to not only the producer but also the value chain actor to develop the market. Excuse me. So we would like to support some finisher for fattening the male and calf buffalo and targeting the Chattogram meat market. As I said already, we can set up a community-based breeding program with a certified sire and for natural breeding. This is cheaper and it is faster. We can introduce digital technology, including drones, GIS, to reach out to remote area with vaccines and emergency medicine where applicable. And we need to prioritize the list of identified gaps by this participatory exercise I mentioned earlier, by 26 gaps, which can be prioritized, and their return of investment has to be very clear and with a very clear goal. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patient hearing. Let me stop here. Unfortunately, I am not physically there and I am not online when this presentation will be played. But if you have questions, here is my email. I will be very happy to receive them and respond to them. Thank you so much once again for your patient hearing.